vacation, so pray you have safe travels and enjoy that this week. This morning, though, we're going to continue going through the book of Job. So I encourage you, if you have your Bibles, I hope you do this morning, turn to Job chapter 32. Job chapter 32. We're making our way rather quickly through the book of Job, and that's, of course, on purpose. We can see better what the point of the book is. Instead of just going verse by verse, we're taking kind of, as I've said before, a 40,000-foot view of what's going on. Job chapter 32. We'll look from 32 all the way to chapter 37 today. So we'll go ahead and start us off with prayer this morning. You should turn there. Father, your word is, Lord, it's marvelous beyond what we can comprehend and understand, Father. The depth of wisdom and knowledge, Lord, is beyond us. And so, Father, I pray that we can come humbly, that I can come humbly, as we seek to see what it is that your word says, Lord, that we may live in light of it today. Father, as we come particularly to this book of Job, Lord, that speaks directly to suffering, our hearts and our ears would be attentive to how it speaks to suffering. Lord, and that from there we would be ready and eager to look to the cross. Father, I ask all this in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
For those of you that may be taking notes today, the title of the message is this: Bad Things, Good Things, and God's People. Now I'll list those because those three things are generally what we have difficulty reconciling, aren't they? How do you reconcile bad things with the good things and God's people, us, being and living in this world? And I think Job 32 through 37 answers that question, because we come to a fellow by the name of Elihu. But before we jump into the text and what's going on here, I want us to kind of ease in slowly and think about some things. There is the joy of God's majesty absolutely all around us, everywhere. In fact, the particulars of life reveal just the absolute wonder of his world and his sovereignty in it too. You say, Pastor, what are you talking about? Well, let's just think about some fun things to start out this morning. If you think about, I'm sure we've seen cows grazing in a pasture, right? Bear with me this morning. Isn't it peculiar? You ever thought about this? Those things that hang under the cow before it's young, right? From that will come ice cream. Isn't that amazing? That's part of God's world. There's also this odd kind of grass thing that when you apply enough heat to it, when you sort it out the right way, guess what you get? Sugar. Amen? God's world, isn't that amazing? There's majesty all over the place. But not only that, there's a kind of snake on the other side of the world, not here, that can almost fly from tree to tree as it spreads out its body. Say, oh, that's just awful. And yet still, this is God's world and his majesty. Isn't it just amazing? to recognize those things and that it is, in fact, God's world, and it's wonderful. And sometimes harder to live it. But the even harder thing to think about and contemplate is, okay, yes, God is in these things. He's in the lightning and the thunder, the power of the storm. We heard fireworks going off for a long while last night, but not much of it compares if you've ever been close enough to a crack of thunder. But the hard thing to sort for us as God's people is, if he's that particular in his world, is he that particular in our suffering? That's difficult. And so we come to the question that Job answers, the book of Job does. Why do good people suffer? In fact, is God in the suffering like he's in the wonderful things? We ought not hover over the hard issues or hover over what the text addresses. Because oftentimes what happens is we jump, skip, and plop through God's Word, still wrestling with that kind of question. But in fact, it answers that question. And so the main point I want to chase this morning is this. God allows suffering for your holiness. As we've gone through the book of Job, his three friends that are not so good friends, they've kept pressing in with the idea that Job must be suffering out of punishment because he's sinned. That's in stark contrast from what we're chasing. So let's review kind of where we are and then work our way to Elihu. And then after we do that, we need to figure out how in the world do we read Elihu, these 6 chapters of him. So to think about this, we've got Job over here, we've got his friends over here, and through the book of Job we see that he suggests and sometimes wonders as he's suffering, and he is an example of suffering, but he suggests that God does not run the world according to justice. Or maybe God is just simply unjust. Of course, recognize what it is that he experienced back in chapter 1 and 2. His house fell on his family. He lost absolutely everything that he had, and he was sick beyond belief. In fact, we see him saying things like this in Job chapter 9. I encourage you to flip there with me. Verses 22 and 23. Back early in the book. He says, "It is all one, therefore I say, he destroys both the blameless and the wicked. When disaster brings sudden death, he mocks at the calamity of the innocent." In his desperation, he's wondering, suggesting, maybe God isn't actually just in his own world. And then he says something similar in chapter 16, verse 9. Now his friends, on the other hand, Job is maintaining that he did not do wrong, and he's maintaining that his friends are wrong, in fact, too. And he's being tempted here. And so they're saying, well, Job must be being punished because he did something wrong. But remember, we as the readers get to pay attention to some important things. In chapter 1 and 2, God said Job is innocent. He is a good man. He's a just man. And it also makes plain when we see in these first 2 chapters that God is sovereign. He sets the line for where the adversary, Satan, can go or cannot go. so what Job does is he dismisses his friends and he demands an answer from God. And so he asks, if you are just and wise, and I'm innocent, why have I suffered? And then we come to Elihu 6. And so this morning, I'm not going to have a series of points for you. I have that one main point. We could say it this way. God is wise and just in your life. And He allows suffering for your holiness. Now, I want to explain that. This is basically what Elihu says. Elihu basically says that God is just. He rules the world according to His justice. And it's not as simple as Job's three friends try to make it out to be. Now, Job maintains that he is a righteous man, relatively speaking. Now, understand, there is such thing as a righteous sinner. Job's not free from all sin, but he's a good man. But what we find out is that God already knew this about Job, right? God's sovereign. He is all-knowing. But we also found out that Job still had more to learn about God. It's easy to look at Job and see how he's spoken of in the beginning and say, well, isn't that enough for somebody? He's got all these things. He's all right with the Lord. Just let him keep going. Understand, God doesn't want just enough for us. He chases us to purge sin out of us. Because He cares for our holiness. So, with all that in mind, let's kind of jump down and see what Elihu's actually saying. And notice how the book is put together. Look at verses 2 and on and see what's said about this gentleman. Verse 2 of chapter 32. Then Elihu, the son of Barachel, the Buzite of the family of Ram, burned with anger. This guy's not happy. He burned with anger at Job because he justified himself rather than God. We go back to the point that we were making about Job in chapter 9 and chapter 16. In verse 3, he burned with anger also at Job's three friends because they had found no answer, although they had declared Job to be in the wrong. He was not satisfied with either of these. Verse 4, now Elihu had waited to speak to Job because they were older than him. When Elihu saw that there was no answer in the mouth of these three men, he burned with anger. See how often it says that he burned with anger. Now, we come to the question when we read the book of Job, who should we listen to and who should we not? It's kind of confusing. There's things that Bildad and Eliphaz say that seems okay, right? But then God ends up condemning those three friends. And then it seems like what Elihu says might be okay, but then he's over here just as mad as a wet hen. So what's going on? So I want to give you some reasons why we should listen to Elihu. First, notice this. Notice just simply how much Elihu speaks. Flip over if you have to all the way to chapter 37. Notice it's not until chapter 38 that the Lord starts to speak. So all these chapters that we have take up a good section of the book. Now compare that to his friends. Yes, it takes up a good section of the book, but notice, remember, at the end of the third cycle of the three friends talking, that last friend, where you would expect for Zophar to speak, he's silent. And the friend before that only has 6 verses to say to Job, which tells us that what they're talking about is just absolutely insignificant. it's insufficient. And yet, when we compare that to Elihu, there's no insufficiency here. And in fact, another reason on top of that, God condemns the 3 friends, but he never condemns Elihu. In fact, I think the proper way to look at this is though the answer Elihu gives is a half of the whole answer of suffering here. And God comes in, wraps it up, and finishes out the rest. Speaks to Job. Now, granted, when we see these characters, we don't adopt everything that they do. It's not always good to walk around perhaps this angry. And maybe he does give Job a little beating here. It's a little too far. But he still speaks rightly about God's justice in the world. So let's chase some of this some more. When we see what Elihu is doing, he rebukes Job and then he explains suffering. Notice that in verse 14. He's going after Job and the friends. He says, he, or Job, has not directed his words against me, and I will not answer him with your friends' speeches. He's coming on the scene saying, look, I'm going to try to explain some things that apparently you guys aren't getting. And in fact, look how ready he is to speak. Verse 18, for I'm full of words, spirit within me constrains me. Behold, my belly is like wine that has no vent, like new wineskins, ready to burst. This is important stuff going on here. And so next he moves to actually rebuke Job. Look down in verse 8 of chapter 33. Surely you have spoken in my ears, and I have heard the sound of your words. You say, I am pure without transgression, I am clean, and there is no iniquity in me. Behold, he finds occasions against me. He counts me as his enemy. He puts my feet in the stocks and watches all my paths. Notice when he says, behold, in this you are not right. I will answer you, for God is greater than man. What we see here that Elihu is pointing out is yes, in his suffering he is right. He has done no wrong. But pride still exists somewhere down in Job's heart. Elihu is bringing this out. So essentially what Job is coming back and saying was, I'm right. God, what are you doing on your end? Then Elihu goes on to explain how God speaks. Now this is important. Verse 14. For God speaks in one way and in two, though man does not perceive it. In a dream and a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on men while they slumber on their beds. Then he opens the ears of men and terrifies them with warnings, that they may turn man aside from his deed, and conceal pride from a man. He keeps back his soul from the pit and his life from perishing by the sword. And when we see this, recognize the way that God spoke in these times was by those ways, that it might be recorded for us to have today. But did you notice why? Why is it that God reveals this to us? Perhaps why is it that we suffer in this world? That he may turn man aside from his deed and conceal pride from a man. He keeps back his soul from the pit. The reason for suffering in this world, the kind of suffering we see with Job, it's not because God is punishing us for sin. In fact, the reason, as Elihu states, is that God is actually saving our soul from hell by purging us of unrighteousness. He's chasing our holiness, not condemning us. You ever notice when you shake something up, the water looks clear when it's been sitting there for a while. Do You go shaking it up, whatever's at the bottom stirs all through. That's suffering. God says, see, look, I found it. It's time to purify, filter it, refine, get rid of it. But not only does he speak through his word and do this, notice in verse 19, man is also rebuked with pain on his bed and with continual strife in his bones. Herein steps the suffering. God uses that for purging that unrighteousness. So what we have is we have suffering for punishment, as his friends say, as opposed to suffering for glory, according to a lie. Notice what he continues to say down in verse 28. This is on the other side, the positive side. He has redeemed my soul from going down into the pit. He has done this. And my life shall look upon the light. Verse 29, behold, God does all these things twice, 3 times with a man, to bring his soul back from the pit, that he may be lighted with the light of life. This is different from what his 3 friends have been saying for chapter after chapter. Then as we skip over 34 and 35, jump to chapter 36. Elihu has rebuked Job. He speaks of God's justice in chapter 34. And then he goes back to Job in chapter 35. But when we get to chapter 36, he starts talking about God again. Notice in verse 6 of 36. He does not keep the wicked alive, but gives the afflicted their right. He does not withdraw his eyes from the righteous, but with kings on the throne he sets them forever, and they are exalted. Now that sounds a little bit like Eliphaz. This is where it can get confusing. And I'm certainly not going to stand up here and say I understand all that Elihu says. I don't. What he's saying here and showing is that yes, there actually is some truth to what Job's friends say. As I may have mentioned last week, have any of you, and be honest, have any of you ever gotten in trouble with your parents? And all God's people said, Amen. Amen. Why, y'all? What did you do? Well, we did something wrong, didn't we? And there came the what? The punishment. For some of us, it may have been more severe than others, right? It's not really what I'm talking about. But then at the same time, notice how that punishment works in our own lives. Why do our parents go after us? Is it because they want to condemn us? Or is it because, in fact, in this divine family orchestration that God in His majesty and sovereignty has put together, He wants to purge us through that authority of our unrighteousness and make us holy. You see how all God's world is so interconnected? He does the same thing to us as His children. But then He hits the other side in verse 8. And if they are bound in chains and caught in the cords of affliction, then He declares to them their work and their transgressions, that they are behaving arrogantly. So if someone's doing bad, yes, He's going to reveal it to them. But notice what He says next. He opens their ears to instruction through the suffering. In fact, we see this in Psalm 119. Long I was afflicted, that I might learn your statutes. The psalmist says this. But he goes on in verse 10, it says, and commands that they return from iniquity. You see how God works? And then in verse 13, he says, the godless in heart cherish anger. They do not cry for help when he binds them. They die in youth, and their life ends among the cult prostitutes. Those are the people that, in fact, will reap what they sow, later than they sow and more than they sow. But then he contrasts that with kind of man like Job in verse 15. He delivers the afflicted by their affliction and opens their ear by adversity. I love that verse. Because I guarantee you, all of us that have suffered here today, it was in affliction that we were drawn closer to God. That our view of Him just exploded in ways that we could not have imagined and could have never seen before. Is God wise and just? Absolutely, because we could never accomplish such things on our own. Verse 16, He also allured you out of distress to a broad place. As you look through the Scriptures, a broad place is always a sign of goodness and peace and comfort and rest. To a broad place where there was no cramping and what was set on your tables, full of fatness. So I hope you see how God works in this. We're traipsing through this, and we're going to remind you of the point that we're chasing. When we ask, is God wise and just in His rule over the world and also in His rule over your life? Understand, God is not a God that's aloof and just up here. If He pays that close attention to the plants that are outside of this place, to the creatures that go from tree to tree, believe me, yes, believe God's word. He pays that close attention to your life. He is sovereign over it. And notice this too, as we've been going through Job. Notice the one thing you never see questioned, actually. No one through Job ever says, you know what, I'm not sure if God is in control or if He is sovereign or not. And yet, in our day and time, in our culture, our temptation is to throw off who God is as sovereign and almighty and God. That we have forgotten often what that word really means. So when we come before Him, we say, you know what, I think I'd rather be God. Lord, you just stay over here and help me out. Give me some good things. It's a far cry from the biblical God that we worship. So the answer to this question is that God is wise and just in your life, and He allows suffering for your holiness. Now, to take that is something that's good. You say, well, why does He still allow suffering? Because your holiness is worth it. He did not die on a cross for us to remain sinners, did He? Revelation 21, do you know what's renewed? Everything. Everything you see in your heart as well. And guess what? He does not throw you off or let you go. And so, as we come to this and hope we see what Allah is doing, we also have to keep in mind this. We still don't know the particular reason why Job has suffered, do we? We don't know exactly why. But notice how Elihu speaks to this in chapter 37. Is that answer sufficient for us? Verse 10 of chapter 37. By the breath of God, ice is given, and the broad waters are frozen fast. He loads the thick cloud with moisture, and the clouds scatter his lightning. They turn around and around by his guidance to accomplish all that he commands them on the face of the habitable world. Whether for correction or for his land or for love, he causes it to happen. Now tell me this. If he is that particular for his purposes, whatever they may be, in his glory to be accomplished in his world, is he not in particular in your life to do the exact same thing? He commands all of his world for his purposes, even my suffering. So it's still, suffering is real. Not for long. Not for long. And as we look at this, it reminds me, do you know how metal and gold is purified? What's applied to it? Heat. And I'm not talking about the heat on your stove when you go to cook breakfast or something. I mean heat to the point that it melts away impurities that we can't even see in it. We call that dross. It's purified. And gold's worth something, is it not? After it's been purified. But not only that, when glass is made and glass blowing, that fine art, being able to do those things, guess what's applied to that? Heat. And it's maneuvered and it's twisted and it's applied, put back in the furnace, pulled out, done again, blown. All for something that's actually beautiful. God doesn't allow suffering just for the sake of suffering, but for something so beautiful, so glorious. We only catch a glimpse of it when Jesus was on the Mount of Transfiguration with some of his disciples. So for us today, understand, Christ has paid the debt of sin. We do not suffer because of that. Christ has accomplished that. We don't suffer because we sin against him. But pay attention, if you do something wrong, bad things might come of it. We do reap what we sow. But we suffer because he cares enough to sift our hearts and shake the sin out. Job was indeed a good man, right? But guess what got shook out as time went on? Some pride, a remnant of pride in his heart that otherwise we would not have seen. Yet all the while, guess what? God knew it was there. What if in loss he shakes out a lack of faith? What if in sickness he shakes out a lack of thankfulness? And guess where us as believers end up on the other side? Holier, closer to him. Guess where we end up in eternity? Even farther than that. principle of sovereign grace. Our Father in heaven has chosen us freely from before the foundation of the world. He regenerated us freely by the work of the Holy Spirit, and He justified us freely through the gift of saving faith. And He's now sanctifying us freely by His grace. How? Through suffering according to His infinite wisdom. The world won't tell you. How could God allow such things? And our response would be, do you not know our God who loves us that much? As a parent, as we well know, it is not disciplined or caring and loving enough to discipline their own child. It's aloof. What do we say when we see such things? They must not care enough. It is not all true of our God. So as we come to a close this morning, we come back to the question, why do bad things happen to good people? The answer is this: because God loves His people enough to care about their holiness. And in fact, the great irony is this: what we experience in this life, and all its suffering as well, is in fact far more than we deserve. So for us believers, let this be our perspective on suffering. Ask the Lord to teach this to us, that we change the question from what did I do to deserve this to what will you accomplish through this? And then for non-believers, if you cannot understand the point of suffering, then look no further at the cross. And amazing. I mean, the book of Job was written a long time, y'all. Long time before the Gospels, before Christ came to His own. And you see how connected it is to the cross. That for the joy set before Him and what would be accomplished, Christ willingly went to the cross, did not throw it off. It is a pinnacle of suffering. Look at what it accomplished. We are sitting here praising Him for what it accomplished. So let's rejoice in that. Let's take that from Job. Let's ask the Lord to apply that to our hearts. Be thankful for the gospel. Let's pray. Father, your wisdom is beyond, Lord, far beyond what I can understand, Lord. But I need not understand all your ways, all that you do, to know of your love, Lord, to know of who you are our Father. Christ is your Son, Lord, and by your Spirit you accomplish salvation by renewing our